striding forward, gets clear of one challenge, breaks inside the box. Whittaker! Smashed in, and it goes in. You are kidding me. For the third time in just 3 weeks, and the fourth time this season, Argyle and Leeds meet. And the right pass, Wayne was there. Oh, he just couldn't keep up with it. Randall is on the overlap on the left, but is still going left-footed, and he scores.
Time in just 6 days. A side in the top 6 of the Sky Bet Championship visits home park. A draw and a defeat for Argyle so far in those games. So all eyes will be on a win against a West Brom side who haven't been here in just over 14 years. Hello, good evening. I'm Erin Black and this is the Argyle TV pre-match show. Another huge night of Sky Bet Championship action for you. And it has been a tough run for Argyle over the past week. But these, I'm sure, as you will all say with me, are moments that we all have dreamed of when we got the promotion last May. Points are important to both Argyle and West Brom tonight. And you can watch it all with us here on Argyle TV. Match passes are available over on the website pafc.co.uk. Now, we've seen 2 tight games in the last few days here at home park. Argyle unfortunately haven't come out on the right side for either of them, but they know that a win today in their game in hand over most of the bottom of the table could see the gap in the relegation places extend to 8 points. So we do want to see that happen. Lots to get through, lots to talk about, and we're very lucky that we have former Argyle Academy coach Aaron Cusack with us this evening. Evening, Aaron. The games keep coming.
They do, thick and fast, don't they? It's like every 3 days there seems to be an event, either at home or away. Yeah. But another, hopefully, a great experience under the lights this evening.
Yeah, and it's been a tough few games this week. We're seeing quite a lot of games packed into a short period of time. I mean, when you go from Christmas up until now, it seems quite relentless. But despite the games being, possibly a little bit more challenging, this is what everyone wanted to, these are the clubs that people wanted to play when we got that promotion last season.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You want to go into a league, a division where you're playing against, former Premier League teams, former Premier League players who have played at international level, and you want to pit your wits against those calibre of opposition. And it's been a very tough period since Christmas, and these are the types of nights where the players will want to relish and put a good stamp on the evening. Yeah,
and testing ourselves against sides, that have come down from the Premier League are, essentially we're coming at this league from one end to the other, really, effectively. So it's great to have the opportunity as a club and as a fan base to, experience that.
Oh, without question, it's a whole community. We've said previously that you know, the whole club, the fans, the players, the committee, they're all on a journey together. And this is what it's all about. And it's about experiencing championship football for the first time in a long time, and just making sure we stay in the division. And, you know, so far so good. We look like we are, you know, pulling away from that trapdoor. But, you know, tonight will be a very tough opposition. But I think one that we're capable of overcoming.
Do you think at this point in the season, having those tough games but at home is a little bit more helpful than having them away?
You'd like to think so, because I think the crowd play a big part. We know that, you know, the Green Army do bring that 12th edition, and that they get behind the team. And it's no coincidence why we've picked up more points probably at home than we have away, scored lots of late goals and things like that. And plus teams don't really want to travel this far down. So it's a little bit of a, you know, a hindrance for them coming all the way down to here.
Sometimes when it doesn't seem like that's that great thing for us, it sometimes can work out in our favour. And kick-off this evening is from 7:45 p.m. and as I mentioned, you can stream the game from Argyle TV, pfc.co.uk. Wherever you are in the world, do log in and find out where you can get the match passes. And between now and kick-off, we're going to be hearing from Ian Foster on how he's been coping with the busy period. Adam Randall is going to be talking to us about how he's adapted his game, and we'll also be taking a closer look at our opposition, West Brom 2, who are right in the playoff hunt at the moment. Before any of that though, let's take a look at the team news for this evening, and we will begin with the Argyle lineup. Connor Hazard, Barley Mumba, Lino Souza, Ryan Hardy, Morgan Whittaker with the captain's armband this evening, Alfie Devine, Lewis Gibson, Darko JB, Adam Randall, Brendan Galloway and Ashley Phillips. And on the bench for Argyle, Callum Burton, Jordan Houghton, Julio Plegazuelo, Joe Edwards, Mikel Miller, Mustafa Bundu, Ben Wayne, Matthew Soranola and Freddie Izaka. So we've got a couple of changes there, Aaron. On the face of it, it's looking like another strong lineup for Argyle.
It is, yeah, and it looks like it's 5 changes where, you know, players have simply come in and taken their position. I think the squad is deep, I think it's strong, you know, so it just showcases that players can be replaced without, you know, the detriment to the starting 11. It's nice to see, you know, JB come back in and to get some minutes under his belt. You know, Ryan Hardy returns to the starting 11 as well, so he's going to want to put a goal on his record. So, you know, but the squad is there available, and, you know, the subs will be called upon if needed, no doubt.
Do you think those 5 changes are reflective of the fact that it has been quite an intense run of games in the last week? You know, I'm sure some players will feel a bit fatigued.
Absolutely, yeah, without question. You know, it's the intensity that they have to go through to compete at this level, and you know, the guys behind the scene with the statistics will identify, you know, when they go into these what they call red zones and things like that, and they need to make sure that they don't want too many in that red zone for fear of injury. So you've got to rotate the squad. You've got to accept that it is a squad game now. It's not just the best 11 each week. They've got to call upon when needed.
And we saw Ben Wayne starting at the weekend. Ryan Hardy now in. I mean, we know how good Ryan Hardy is, and I think it will be a great opportunity for him to start tonight. Hopefully he can get a goal under his belt at home park.
Absolutely, and I think it's, you know, no one would be surprised if we say that Ryan is the front man. I know Whittaker's the top scorer, but Ryan is the leading number 9 at the club at the minute, and he's going to be the talisman, if you like. And, you know, I think this type of evening will suit his game. We know he likes to run on the last line and run behind the last defenders. It's important that Whittaker and Devine obviously expose the gaps that he creates as a result of his good movement.
I mean, I think Ben Wayne was just talking the other day about how competitive it is to get that starting position in the squad when Ryan Hardy is in form, because, you know, when he's there, and there's not too much you can do about it.
No, there isn't, and sometimes you've just got to accept that at this current juncture there's someone in front of me, but that doesn't mean you can't be any less demanding of yourself. And, you know, Ben, I know Ben quite well, and he's a really exceptional professional, works hard at his game, he's very methodical, and, you know, and he'll be called upon and ready if needed this evening.
And Brendan Galloway, former West Brom player, he's starting tonight. Do you think there'll be any benefit that he'll be able to bring from his previous experience with the club?
I don't know, to be honest. Maybe you'd like to think so. You know, I don't know how long ago he was there, but I think he'll know that, you know, the remnants of the team. But for me, Galloway's been he's been like a new signing. You know, he's been, since he's returned from injury and he's stayed fit, he's been like a rock back there. And, you know, it's great to have that balance that he brings and that experience as well of someone who's played in the Premier League.
Yeah. Now, Mikael Miller is on the bench this evening. He's had a really good couple of games. Presumably, that's more of a rest decision than anything else.
I think so, because he's been notoriously had a track record of injuries as well. So the last thing you want is to get him into probably the best form he's been since he's arrived at the club, only to break down. So I think in Sousa coming in as well, it's an ample replacement. And I'm pleased for Mikael Miller because I think now he's starting to find a bit of a purpose. You know, he's starting to impact games with numbers, contributions, goals, assists, and that's what we need to see more of him because I'm not sure people quite know what he brings, what his biggest strength is.
It feels like he's been bubbling away a little bit in the background, but in recent games made more of a kind of decisive impact that people can see.
And that will bring confidence for him as well that he's finally got a purpose in that 11.
Yeah, well, let's have a look at our opposition for tonight then. It is West Bromwich Albion, and their lineup looks like this. Alex Palmer in goal for them, Darnell Furlong, Connor Townsend, Cedric Kipray, Jed Wallace, Nathaniel Chalobah, Eric Peters, Andreas Weimann, John Swift, Alex Mowat and Tom Fellows. And on their bench, Josh Griffiths, Shemi Ayahi, Grady Diangana, Adam Reach, Mickey Johnston, Callum Marshall, Pippa, Jovan Malcolm and OK Yokashlu. So, I mean, what are you making of these players, Aaron? I mean, you know, they are without a couple of players, as we know. Do you think that will be of benefit to Argyle?
Well, Asante isn't, their top scorer of 9 goals, 11 all in terms of his contribution. He's not even in the squad, I don't think, so he must have, suspension or an injury. But, the likes of John Swift and Jed Wallace, they've contributed quite a lot, both goals and assists this year. The lad Tom Fellows scored a good goal against Ipswich the other week, so he looks like he's quite lively. So we've got to be mindful that we don't expose them to opportunities to exploit our wide areas. 3 of their last 5 goals have come from them getting to the byline and pulling them back.
Sure.
So we're low crosses. So to me, that looks like a deliberate ploy. So we've got to make sure we don't invite them to, expose those areas too easily.
Yeah, I think Alex Palmer as well will be a name that some people are familiar with in goal. Had a loan spell here in 2019, 2020 there for us. You never want to see a former Argyle player do badly, but I think everyone here would quite like to see a couple of goals slip past him tonight.
Well, maybe the odd fumble and, the howler wouldn't go amiss. It's due to rain a bit later, so maybe the greasy pitch will just bring on that opportunity. Who knows?
Yeah. And we know West Brom are in really good form at the moment. I think they are. I think it's 5th in the table at the minute, so, well within, that top echelon of the league. What do Argyle need to do to try and break them down and break down their, good form?
Well, I mean, if they look at it more recently, they've not won away from home since December. They've not scored many recently away from home as well. So, they're not free-flowing. I mean, when you look at the league table, we've scored more goals than they have this year. We've conceded 20 more than they have, but it just goes to show they're perhaps not a free-flowing scoring team. They're quite a dogged side who get results by grinding results. So we've got to make sure that first and foremost stay in the game. Don't allow, the calibre of the Coventry equaliser last week. That would have riled everyone just to the nature of how it went in. So, if a team is going to score against you, make sure they earn the right to score it. Don't give away soft possession easily. And just make sure you know your role and responsibility. Yeah,
and while they are in, fantastic form, and I think any Argyle fan would love to be in their position in the league at the minute, away from home, not super handy. I mean, 3 losses and 1 draw here, and only scoring 1 goal in the last 4 away games. So that does look promising in terms of, like you said, the distance travelled, coming down here, coming down to Home Park. It has its benefits for Argyle.
It does, and they're without their top scorer as well. But I think in Tom Fellows coming in, someone who's going to want to make a mark and put his stamp on the game, he's going to want to showcase he's capable of a valid replacement. So, Argyle are not going to naturally go out and be lacklustre and think their top scorer isn't here. They're not notorious for scoring regularly on the road. They've just got to make sure, for me, they've got to take the game to them early, make it uncomfortable, make it difficult, don't let them settle, and hopefully get an early goal just to settle the crowd in as well.
Yeah, and if anyone saw previously their manager getting a red card the other day, suspended from today's game, will that have an impact for the players, not having their manager, stood there at in the dugout?
It's hard to say, really. It depends on... You'd like to think so with the presence, but it's hard to say. If they've done their preparation correctly, the team should be able to operate without the instruction of the manager. but sometimes just having him there to make that change if
Yeah.
needed. I'm sure he'll be mic'd up and he'll get messages down to the bench anyway.
Yeah.
But you know, and hopefully Argyle have done their homework, because West Brom have been vulnerable to deep crosses in particular. You know, I think their last 8 goals they conceded have all come inside the box.
Okay.
So hopefully Argyle can smother the box early, get runners, and hopefully convert with being clinical.
And I think we've seen in previous games, maybe not necessarily if Ian Foster's kind of targeted particular areas from the get-go, but certainly at half-time, if Argyle seem to be on a back foot, there always has seemed to be a bit of a turnaround in the sense of, you know, Argyle being able to adapt at what their opposition is bringing.
And I think that's testament to Foster in particular, and Nance, you know, and maybe Juicnip, who's in there as well, because it showcases the awareness to make changes when it's not quite going to plan. So, and also credit to the players for taking the information on board and knowing what they need to do to change and adapt. So, you know, hopefully we don't have to do that this evening, but it's nice to have those opportunities available, so they have to call on them.
Yeah, of course. Well, tonight is the 6th game that Argyle will have played in the last 16 days. It's the 3rd time in a week that they're taking on a top 6 side, not that we're counting. And how does Ian Foster, who hasn't been in the job for a full 2 months yet, deal with that kind of number of games?
I suppose the process immediately after Leeds is to review the game. I suppose we're not going into too much detail. We code the game in terms of how we play. So we go back through that in fine detail so that we can review back to the players accordingly the following day. So that's our priority. We always review the game before we move on to make sure that we've done what we thought we had. We know that there'll be areas that we've done really well in, be areas where we can improve. So we look at those. And then sometimes we review the game based on what the game plan was or what's to come. So, you know, there'll be instances in the game we'll say, look, this is pertinent because it's coming again Tuesday. So we can review it in different ways. And then we turn our attentions to the opposition. So there's a lot of work being done prior to me looking at them. We go through our processes in terms of analysing the opponent, coming up with a game plan to deliver to the players.
This might sound like a bit of a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you, when you look back at the coded version of the game and the bits that you've just spoken about there, does that ever, are you always spot on from what you thought when you watched the match, your initial thoughts, then how it looks afterwards?
No, and that's why I'm always reluctant to speak to players after a game when the emotions are high. And I mean that both ways, so you can get carried away sometimes after the game when you think you've done better than you have, and vice versa. So I never speak in detail to the players because the review can show you different things. So as well as watching the coded version of the game, I'll watch the game in its entirety anyway. So we get tactical footage of the game, so I'll watch that as well. And the game's never really how you thought it was when you stood on the touchline. It's probably the worst place in the stadium to watch the game from, in all honesty. So that's how it looks. The players then come in for a recovery session. So around the review, they're doing their recovery work. Sometimes we split the group, so the starters will do something and the finishers will do something different. Yesterday we all stayed together, and the players did a hydro session, and then the cryotherapy work, and the masseurs were in. Look, it's a quick turnaround. We appreciate that, but we've got plans. We've got processes in place that will help us in terms of being prepared for 7:45 Tuesday.
Let's talk about 7:45 on Tuesday in West Brom. Playoff chasing team, doing really well. What sort of match are you expecting maybe against them? Yeah,
a very competitive one. Really good team. I think that defensively they're a really good unit. Out of possession, really well structured, really hard to break down, don't concede many goals. And then they've got the threat the other way with some really exciting players, an inverted wide left and someone like Wallace on the right who can go on the outside and deliver the crosses he can. So yeah, we know the threats they pose. They're an excellent team. That's why they're currently in the playoff spots.
We touched on it earlier, Aaron, but it has been a relentless periods of games.
Yeah, it's been like the number of games he's had to come into. He's not had any time to breathe, has he?
No.
You know, and he's had to you know, understand how the system operates, get to know the players, how the scheduling works, and you know, I know he's come in and the boys have been worked hard, and rightly so. You know, they've got the standards, and you know, it's for me, it's still a really good appointment. It really is.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a hard enough window for a head coach that's been in the position for, you know, X amount of months, years, whatever. But to come straight in and then be faced with game after game after game, plus the, you know, FA Cup games which we were involved in as well, it's quite a big undertaking.
It is, yeah, and they've not had time to actually settle and go, right, okay, let's have a full week of this where we can look at that. We're always preparing for another game, and I'm no doubt that would have probably frustrated him a little bit to not be able to stamp what he wants in terms of an identity, but that will come in time.
Yes.
But so far so good. You know, I think he's had a really solid start, and the players seem to be buying into what he wants. There's definitely a different style to what was under Schumacher, and I think he's shored it up a little bit, which is encouraging.
Yeah. Well, he of course got the first away win of the season,
he did,
so we've got to be grateful for small mercies with that one. Argyle have only picked up 2 points from 9 matches against those kind of top sides though this season, which isn't ideal. In terms of changing that, is it just a case of, you know, breathing, allowing yourself to get into that swing of things?
I think so. I mean, I said to Charlie a few weeks ago about, you know, this stage of the season, about chopping the league up into like 3. You know, the top 8, the middle 8, the bottom 8, and if you can win the bottom, we were in and around it like we are. If you can win that mini league, you stand every chance, obviously, of staying up. And I think at this juncture, it's a case of identifying where we are, what's realistic. You know, the likes of Leeds, with all respect, there's a bit of a free hit. If we get a point, brilliant, but no one's really expected to get anything. Whereas something like tonight, I know they're 5th, but I think these are vulnerable, and when we played them away, we were unlucky not to get all 3. So these are more attractive in terms of winning than perhaps Leeds would have been at the weekend.
And do you think winning against, you know, like West Brom would have a bit more of an impact in terms of morale as well going forward? Because not only would it be a good point, you know, or 3 points on the board, it's knowing that you've ticked that one off, like you said, in the top 8 of the league.
That's a good point, Erin. And I think if they win tonight, they'd have taken 4 points off West Brom this season. So that demonstrates the calibre of opposition who are up around the top, and we're capable of not losing to them. And when you look at the teams around them, like Hull, we drew at Hull, we lost and we beat Sunderland. So there's teams in and around them that we are. Coventry, we took a point off as well last week. So we're, you know, we are capable of challenging those kind of playoff teams.
Yeah, well, hopefully Ian Foster and the squad would maybe shake off the weekend and go again today. It is, of course, a new week, and still to come between now and kick-off on the pre-match show. We're going to be hearing from Adam Randall as well on how he feels his last couple of performances have been. Just before that, though, earlier this week, the EFL launched its limited edition Puma Rainbow Football, which is being used today here at Home Park, and it was used at the weekend as well. And it's part of all of the work that football clubs up and down the country do to honour LGBTQ+ History Month.
I don't think they kind of realise just how impactful their words can be and what it can kind of do to a person.
Saddened, upset,
uncomfortable,
unwelcome.
It does wind me up. Definitely feels like being bullied.
You just have to sit there and go, really?
It needs flagging up. It's not acceptable. It's not okay.
Gay, bi, trans, or whatever you identify as, we've all got the same blood when we're sat under a football stadium, under the lights on a Tuesday night.
There's no excuse for it.
Why does it matter who you are or how you live your life?
You just feel let down.
There's a lot of things I'd like to say to them.
Just think about the effect your words have, and really, what are you gaining from saying something homophobic, something discriminatory?
People want to fit in, especially young people, and I think that's why making football for everyone is so important.
This ball stands for football for everyone, equality for everyone, and respect for everyone.
We are one union and we are one family.
This represents a sense of belonging, a sense that I'm welcome, a sense that I can be myself and enjoy football.
It's about representation for me.
Most importantly, it's it's hope.
I love football. When I see this kind of representation, I know I can be proud of my sport.
Now, Adam Randall was pretty much a mainstay in the middle of midfield for the first part of this season. However, once there was a change in head coach, he found himself out of favour just a little bit, and he has come back in for the last 2 matches, and I think it's fair to say he has made a bit of an impact.
It's sometimes a tough decision because if you get it wrong, it can go really wrong. Obviously, if you give the ball away there and no one's expecting you to give the ball away, everyone's out of position, or they might not know where their man is, and you're right in front of the goal. When I played that little pass back to Lino, I've got to play it to make sure that he can either turn out or play it first time. So I've got to play it soft enough that he knows what to do with it, and he knows that he can pass it first time to Alfie. But at the same time, not too soft that their player's going to just run in and have a shot at goal. It's small details like that. Like, it's a bit of information on the pass without saying anything. He knows that if I pass it soft to him, I want him to pass it first time. But if I'd have punched it in hard to him, then he wouldn't have been able to do that. And then I had a little check just as Alfie gave me the ball, a little scan. Just to see where Morgs was, because I knew that I wanted to play. We'd just come out of this area of the pitch, so they obviously had a lot of bodies in there, so I knew that we had to ultimately either go forward or out the other side, and Morgs was making a movement, as he does, into the space for me, and just he's one of the easiest ones to just knock the ball into. It actually wasn't a great pass because I left it off the floor. It wasn't the best, but he managed to deal with it, and perhaps if he'd have just slid Alfie in a little bit less firm, then we would have been away again. Yeah, this one.
I'd argue they have the stronger bench of the two. Here's Devine. Randall striding forward, gets clear of one challenge, breaks inside the box. Whittaker!
This one, I saw Alfie dropping in, and although we've not specifically been sort of told it, we've done it a couple of times where if he drops into that space, I know that his area of the pitch is open for me to go into. And I know that we're in the same sort of formation, so that if we were to lose the ball, he can cover my position, and I can cover his. He's obviously a well-rounded midfield player as well, so he can fill in that gap, and I've got no worries that he can defend there if need be. Which gives me the freedom to push forwards. He slid it through to me. I knew the centre-back was coming. I could just hear him, I think. I hear those big footsteps coming for me. So I thought I'm going to have to knock it and run. Which I've tried a couple of times this season, and it's not always worked out. I've been clattered a couple of times. And he tried doing the same again, but I managed to somehow dodge him. Decent first touch. And then when I looked up, I had loads of space in front of me, and I thought, I'm going to just go for goal. I'm just going to try and score. And then I don't think my second touch was very good, which slowed me down. Knew that at that point I was going to have to pass it. Looked up, saw Rye making the initial run, which helped me make my decision, because I knew that throughout the game I'd spoken to Morgs saying that the cutback was on, because their defenders were following Rye. And every time Morgs got the ball, he obviously likes to score and he likes to go for goal. But I said, if the opportunity comes and you get to the byline, have a look at the cutback, because we were a couple of times getting into the position for it. So yeah, I looked up, saw Ryan making that initial run, and I thought whoever that is behind him is going to get the ball. And thankfully it was Morgan Whittaker's left foot, which is usually pretty reliable in front of goal. So I just tried to find the gap so that he could step onto it first time. Again, not smashing it across so hard that he was stitched up, just enough on it. And he tucked it away. Did the hard part, but made it look easy as always.
And that was from the latest episode of Player Focus, which is available on Argyle TV's streaming platform right now. Aaron, you obviously know Adam really well. How much would being left out of the side like that have spurred him on?
If I know him like I think I know him, then I know that would have not annoyed him, but given him the fire to actually showcase what he's capable of doing. And Adam's a very methodical person, so he would have looked at what his contributions have been like and what he can add to his game to make him, a regular starter again. So, sometimes it's good for them because it gives them that opportunity to showcase what they can do.
I mean, I don't know him, but certainly seeing him on the pitch, it seems like he comes at everything with a very proactive approach. He really wants to go out there and deliver.
And I think for me that has a really big significance on the other players as well, because he kind of drives it. And I've said previously, you don't need to be, wear an armband to be a captain. For me, he can become the leader of that midfield unit where he learns to drive the opponents on. And because he's very clever and he understands the game, he can identify from a tactical perspective where to stand, when to smother the ball, when to drop off. And for me, this will only spur him on to get better.
And I mean, of course, he is Argyle through and through as well.
He is. And you have to give him credit because, of the 3 or 4 games where he has been left out and he's come back in, where he's perhaps had to start due to ineligibilities and FA Cup ties and whatever, and cup ties. I think he's had 2 man of the matches, he's had an assist and he's had a goal. So just showcases that he's been ready. He's not just looked at it negatively. He's been positively ready to contribute when called upon.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Player of the match, assist and a goal in the last 6 matches, and bursting forward a lot more often as well. Is it the first time he's kind of had to learn a new style of playing under Ian Foster?
Maybe, maybe. And I think it was him identifying an attribute that he has that perhaps others haven't got as consistency that he can bring to the game. And I think now he's had some success with driving with the ball in particular. He sees it as a weapon, and now he can use it more often because he knows it works. He's tried and trusted, and he's no doubt opportunity tonight he'll relish it.
Yeah, I mean, it would certainly be fantastic to see him score another goal here in front of the home park crowd. Absolutely. Well, you are watching the Argyle TV pre-match show right now with Argyle taking on West Brom at 7:45 p.m. And coming up after this, we will be taking a closer look at the Baggies, so don't go anywhere.
The away day. A shared passion and commitment. 12,000 miles across the season. Unforgettable memories, past players, the goals. Waiting players, supporters, young and old. Capturing the moment, living the dream. Green Army, belting out the Janus song. The stands, the shirts, the drum beats, the surging crowd moving as a giant wave. Crusaders, one and all. The Green Army.
Our opposition then, and it has been a very interesting few days for West Bromwich Albion. On Friday, it was announced that American businessman Shalen Patel and his Bilkul Football WBA were to become the majority shareholders of the club, becoming the new owners. And then they lost a rare home game at Southampton, which left them just a couple of points clear of Norwich City in 7th place. So let's have a look back at some of the best bits from that game.
And now, here they come. Sam Allison, our referee. West Brom, full of hope for the future. Hoping for a result tonight in the immediate future. And there is Shalen Patel. A breakdown in communication there. The ball had gone out of play. He's going to his pocket here for presumably something that's been said. Well, Carlos Corberán has been sent off here. Second corner for Southampton. They changed the focus of it perfectly. If that is straight from the training ground, then it's executed perfectly. Ryan Fraser. given where it was with VAR, that's a penalty. Can they make use of it? No! And of all people, it's Steven. Joe Aribo continues to charge forward, picks out Mara again. He lost his footing again, this time less dramatically. Small ball. Might open up here for Edozie. This is really well done! And supremely well taken by David Brooks. Southampton ensure that they do the double, same old story. For Southampton against West Brom.
Well, they lost a little bit of ground there, Aaron, but overall, I think still, you know, riding high at the top of the table there, a very good place to be.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, realistically, I think the top four is probably out of their reach. I think they're like 14 points adrift of Ipswich, but they'll be vying for one of the two remaining playoff spots, along with Norwich and Hull and teams in and around there. So it's very tight and congested. So, you know, they want to take 3 points away from here this evening to keep their noses in front of the others. So they've got their own kind of battle to be contending with, and we have as well. So for me, it makes for a very good evening of football because both teams have got a particular agenda.
Yeah. Now, I always really like having you on Argyle TV because of your ability to kind of drill down into the analytics and things of clubs. What is it, in your opinion, about West Brom that makes them so effective?
Well, I mean, they don't score lots of goals, but what they do really well is that they get their best players in the right moments, and they've scored a high percentage of their goals this year in wide areas.
Okay.
And with it being wide areas, you know, 3 of the last 5 goals in particular have come from getting to the byline and pulling the ball back low. So they've got players running onto it. So that will be a tactic. And if Argyle haven't done their homework, then we will get exploited here this evening. So, you know, and I think they're also a side that likes to have consistency. Their back four, I think, is unchanged again. So they've got an element of stability there. And when you've got players who are playing regularly, you get settled players, you get a harmony.
Yeah.
And I think in, you know, the manager, albeit he's suspended tonight, has brought kind of a galvanised connection to them as well.
So with that style of play, West Brom being able to pull back and get those goals, you are anticipating this evening that Argyle will be aware of that and they should be able to counter that and make sure that doesn't happen.
I mean, John Swift, I think, has scored quite a few goals from distance as well, so he'll come through the central areas, but they like to get people down the flanks and get those mini overloads. So, you know, what we mustn't do is leave Sousa and Barley Mumba exposed, because if I'm being brutally honest, Barley isn't particularly effective in a 1v1 defensive capacity, so he needs to have support. So we've got to make sure it's not pulled apart too easily and invite runners from midfield into the box.
Okay. And where could Argyle hurt them in reverse further up the pitch?
Well, if you look at the last 8 goals that they conceded, they've all come from in the box.
Okay.
So that would be inviting players to get in the box and support the attacking threat.
Yeah.
They've conceded 4 or 5 of the last goals off one touch.
Yeah.
So you don't want to dwell too long. So if you're going to arrive at the right moment and use just a 1 or 2 touch to get your shot off.
Yeah.
And for me, there's 2 more things really. One, they play a high line at times, so that should allow Ryan to run on the blind side and get in behind, but not just on his own. And the other one is deeper crosses. So they've been vulnerable to a ball that's been going to the back post, where they've had a player coming around the back on the blind side and heading it back across the box.
Yeah.
To encourage a tap in. So, you know, for me, the players who are on the opposite flanks will play a big part this evening.
Okay, so and if Ryan Hardy can get those runs in,
absolutely,
that's going to be a
that'll
positive.
pull them apart, and that should leave gaps for the likes of Devine and Whittaker and Randall to exploit centrally in particular.
And we know Whittaker, of course, in particular, if, you know, on the right, well, not even necessarily on the right day, it could be a wrong day for Morgan Whittaker, to be honest. You know, if he just gets that touch right, Whittaker is away.
He is, he is. You know, and that's you know, his top scorer up there in the league, and it just showcases his ability to fashion something out of nothing, really.
Okay, so it's feeling good. I'm hoping that you know, everyone watching at home maybe has a good feeling about this. We have spoken too soon before, but we won't say anything more than that. And of course, tonight exciting as well because it's the first meeting between Argyle and West Brom at Home Park since 2010, and Argyle haven't beat the Baggies since 1993. Just to make everyone feel bad, that's longer than I've been alive. And earlier in the season they played out a 0-0 draw in the Midlands.
Furlong. Wallace has found another bit of space on the edge of the box, trying to get away onto his left foot and then actually spread it all the way out to Phillips, who's got a lot of space. Can he craft across? 2 Argyle players over to him, but he's able to play it to the edge of the box. Shot comes in, it's deflected. Now Whittaker has got Phillips one-on-one down the right. Onside, inside onto his left, tries the shot! Oh, it's off the post! It's going to fall to Mumba, and now Azaz! Oh, it's over the top, deflected and wide. Spreads it for Scar. Kesler Hayden with a quick cursory check around him to see if he could bring it in. Whittaker interchanges with Randall, who's onside if he chases and can get there first. Adam Randall, he's got Azaz in the middle. Oh, no, Hardy was arriving. It's going to fall to Kesler Hayden! Good block by the defenders. They can half clear, can they? Miller gets a head down with it. West Brom have pretty well changed their system. I'll give you a few seconds at the start of this half just to assess it, Ryan, and then we'll come to you. But there's a chance here early on. Phillips has found Wallace, who breaks into the box on the left-hand side and crosses. Is it going to fall for Diangana? Not quite. And just about. Mikael Miller gets it away. But actually Diangana's picked it up and now come in from the right-hand side. Mumba all the way with him. Excellent defending from Mumba. Chalobah then scythed into Houghton, but he won the ball and the ref was happy. Chance here for Diangana! Cooper at full stretch got something on it. Could be a chance here. Miller got a ricocheted ball and played it to Bundu on the left channel. Cundall makes a run. Whittaker's outside right. Bundle tries to curl one! Whittaker to his left. Bundu to the right. Still Finn Azaz. Holds it up and plays it to Whittaker. Left-hand side of the area. Hasn't got too much in the middle to aim at. Might go himself! Nearly went over Alex Palmer. Real test now, isn't it? Butcher straight into the fray is marking Furlong as the ball comes in from the right-hand side. It's a header from West Brom and it's just gone past everybody.
We are getting ever closer to kick-off here on Argyle TV. So remember, you can get your match passes online now. And there is more build-up to come after this.
'Cause every time we touch, I get this feeling. And every time we kiss, I swear I could fly. Can't you feel my heart beat fast? I want this to last. Need you by my side. 'Cause every time we touch, I feel the static. And every time we kiss, I reach for the sky. Can't you hear my heart beat so? I can't let you go. Want you in my life.
Well, we've been chasing it for a couple of games now, but Argyle are looking to get their 10th win of the season tonight. 8 of those have been here at Home Park, and if they do win tonight, they will extend the gap to the bottom 3 to 8 points, which I think is what everyone very much wants to see. West Brom are, of course, the visitors this evening, and you can follow the match in full on Argyle TV. Let's take a moment now, though, to get a reminder of the team news, and we will start with Argyle. Connor Hazard in goal, Barley Mumba, Lino Souza, Ryan Hardy, Morgan Whittaker with the captain's armband, Alfie Devine, Lewis Gibson, Darko JB, Adam Randall, Brendan Galloway and Ashley Phillips. And on the bench for Argyle, Callum Burton, Jordan Houghton, Julio Plegafuelo, Joe Edwards, Mikael Miller, Mustafa Bundu, Ben Wayne, Matthew Sorinola and Freddie Isaka. Aaron, you know, looking at that lineup there, in terms of, you know, like Ashley Phillips, for example, we've seen quite a lot of him in recent weeks, haven't we? Yeah. Do you think he's, you know, really solidifying himself in the defence? He is. I think he's already identified that he's an integral part of that back line. And, you know, I know Foster had him at the England setup, so he knows his game. And, you know, for someone so young, he's an absolute giant of a man. He's huge, you know, and it's just showcased. And he's settled in really well, and he's had some really positive performances. And there's been a lot asked of him. You know, I really felt for him in the Leeds game because of he was exhausted in the FA Cup game, absolutely exhausted, and you know, just showcased that he's got that capability to keep going. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's have a look at West Brom as well then. And their starting 11 consists of Alex Palmer, Darnell Furlong, Connor Townsend, Cedric Kipray, Jed Wallace, Nathaniel Chalobah, Eric Peters, Andreas Weimann, John Swift, Alex Moat and Tom Fellows. And we spoke earlier, Aaron, you know, few changes for them because they do have a few injured players.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will play into Argyle's advantage.
You'd like to think so, but again, they won't take the players who've come in lightly. You know, Tom Fellows, who's been recently scoring, Andreas Weimann has scored recently as well, so they're in recent form of scoring goals. The likes of John Swift and Jed Wallace, who I think together collectively have contributed 15, 16 goals between them in terms of assists as well. So they've got variety available. We've just got to make sure that we try to suffocate their threat as quickly as possible.
And looking at the team set up, those players, any areas you've identified as kind of key battles that we might be expecting to see on the pitch?
I think the back line will be a battle. You know, the likes of Fellows, who will like to run. You know, he's quite small, but he's got kind of a good low centre of gravity, good mover. John Swift will like to join the attack as well. Weimann will support it. So naturally, it's easy to say the central areas, but for me, wide areas will play a big part.
Okay.
You know, we're quite vulnerable in wide areas at times, so if we can, you know, nullify that as best we can, and they're particularly strong, we could thwart their attack.
Yeah. And do you think this is going to be a case of Argyle trying to get out there, you know, from the get-go, get those goals or maybe singular goal away early, or should Argyle kind of be biding their time, just slowly breaking West Brom down?
I think it depends on the game plan, Erin.
Okay.
So whatever he said, Foster, you know, for me, would go out and put a stamp on the night straight away, make it difficult, play with high tempo, fast pace, don't let the team settle. The last thing you want to do is let a team who's in the playoffs dictate the play.
Yeah.
You don't want them to settle into their rhythm and make it hard. The one thing we'll always have, though, is goals.
Yeah.
So even if we go a goal behind, I'll always fancy ourselves, especially under the lights here,
Yeah,
to
bring it
get
back.
something. So just stay in the game, more importantly.
And of course, 12th man here at Home Park, very important as well.
Absolutely.
The crowd are certainly filling in around us as well, so there will be we will not be short of a lot of fans getting behind the club tonight. Now we are just over 10 minutes away from kickoff, so we've got the final bit of build-up coming up next. Let's have a quick look at the other games being played today then. Only 3 matches taking place tonight. Cardiff versus Blackburn, Ipswich versus Rotherham, and Southampton take on Hull. We will be able to bring you the scores as they develop throughout this match as well here at Home Park. And just before we hand over for commentary this evening for our game against West Brom, let's get a final thought from inside the Argyle camp. Here is Kevin Anscoville talking to Charlie Price.
Nance, we're here again, just a few days on from the last one. It's a relentless period, this, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. Championship's well known for it, and it's been proving that the last few weeks. But we're looking forward to it. We've recovered well, and we're ready to go.
Similarly to Saturday, I imagine there's been a bit of change in the side because of the nature of the run of fixtures.
Yeah, 5 changes. So Brendan comes back in, Ryan comes back in, and Darko, and 2 wing backs will change. So Barley will start and Lino will start on the left side.
Yeah, obviously Darko couldn't play in the last game, but Ryan and Brendan given a bit of a rest, I imagine, to keep them fresh for the amount of games coming in.
Yeah, it's just that, exactly that. It's been relentless in the number of games we've had, the intensity of the games as well. So it was just a case of managing the squad, giving everybody the best opportunity to be maximum for every game they play.
I suppose we've seen in the last couple of home games the impact that players have had from the bench, like Mikel on the bench again today, but against Coventry came on and changed it. I'm guessing you guys are hoping for similar from everybody that's in reserve.
Yeah, definitely. That's what they're there for. They know the jobs when they come on, and if they can have the impact that they've had in the recent weeks, then we'll be in a good place.
Just a quick one on West Brom. It's another side in the top 6. Seems to be playing them every game at the moment. What sort of game are you expecting?
Tough. A real tough game. Like we say most weeks, the Championship's full of big clubs, good teams. We're delighted to be at this level. We know we can compete at this level, and we're looking forward to another competitive game tonight.
We know it's not going to be an easy game tonight, Aaron, but I think everyone always comes to an Argyle game with a little bit of optimism. It doesn't matter, you know, what the fixture is looking like. Do you feel like Argyle, you know, hopefully will at least be able to make up for what we saw at the weekend?
Oh, absolutely. I think so. I think they'll look at this fixture as more of a winnable fixture than that against Leeds. So I'm one of those optimists, Aaron. I'm going to go for an Argyle win, 2-1. That's my prediction.
Okay. He's given the prediction. There's no Pilgrim Pete prediction tonight, so we'll have to take Aaron's word as final, and hopefully that is what happens. We are pretty much ready to get going here on Argyle TV now. It is under 10 minutes until a kick-off takes place. Reminder, your match passes are available over on the website. If you haven't got them already, now is the perfect time to do so. Charlie Price and Ian Stonebridge are standing by this evening for all of your commentary needs. Aaron, thank you very much for being here. We'll be catching up with you again at half-time, but right now let's hand over to Charlie and Ian because it is Argyle versus West Brom coming up next.
It's fired into the roof of the net by Castle, and that is one way to get a hat-trick.
I believe that we had a few knocks before then, and we didn't have any good results building up to that, and I think everyone was in the doldrums, and I think it was an expected thing.
Plymouth are 6 points out of the relegation zone. They've only won 1 of their last 8 games. Albion, on the other hand, well, they've won their last 3 and unbeaten in 7, and are now in 3rd position.
They were up there. I don't know whether they were top, but they were up there. They were a very good team, but we just hit the ground.
Nicely played. Andy Hunt must be.
How ridiculous. I think we were 1-0 down. I think it ended up being 3-1, 4-1, and then they got 1. Ended up 5-2, which is a ridiculous goal scoring line for a defensive score that scored.
Goal. Now Dalton. That's the equaliser. Another very, very simple goal.
Martin Barlow, I remember putting in 2 really great balls.